Okay, I have cut the fork to length, so I'm going to replace it back into the frame through the headset. So again, I'm just going to make sure that that headset bearing is still there, since I didn't take it out earlier, so it is there. So I'll just pop this through. Okay, out the top, like that. And I'm going to drop in a few spacers. So I got a 5mm there, 10mm, and a 5mm. Then I'll drop my stem on. This is a carbon steer tube clamp. So we'll pop this in. So I'm going to pull this up and kind of tighten by hand a little bit. And you can see that it's like slowly going in. So now I'll push this down a little further and then use a hex key to sort of finish it. So that basically just secures the clamp inside the steer tube. Okay. Then I'll put my spacer back on top, and then my top cap will go in here, and this one I will tighten down. So we'll tighten this, you know, till it just touches. Don't want to over tighten that because you want this headset to still be able to spin freely, but you don't want any play, so you don't want this to like knock around. And then once the stem is like straight, and we can adjust this later on, I will tighten down these stem bolts, and that'll keep our fork in place. Okay, that should be good. Now we will actually attach our bars at this point because I want to put on the levers after this. So we'll take off this stem faceplate. Okay, faceplate is off. And I'm going to install these bars. These are Ritchey Butano bars. Has a very slight flare in the drops, but not too extreme. It has shallow drop, which is nice too, so kind of easy to use. So we'll just put this back in here. You can see that most of my finishing kit cockpit stuff are all Ritchey components. So we'll screw these back in. You want to tighten these bolts evenly. Okay, once it starts to get a little snug, we'll sort of make sure that it's centered. And we'll just also check from the side to sort of at least temporarily have it at the right angle. We can adjust this later on, but I just wanted to have it roughly in the right place, so that'll help me set up my shifters. Okay, I have these bars roughly in place. I'm gonna just tighten it good enough for now. We'll adjust it later on and tighten them fully later. Okay, before I do anything else, it's probably a good idea to put some kind of foam or protective padding over the top tube. So I'm just going to tape that down, and I do that to prevent the bars that don't have tape on it yet from swinging around and denting the top tube, which I learned the hard way, so now I learned my lesson. Next, I'm going to install the levers. So this is the right lever, which has the shifter on it, and the left lever has no shifter because we're running 1x, so I have no front derailleur. Okay, I'm going to pull back the hoods to make this easier to slide onto the bars, and we'll just slide this up into position, and I'll tighten it with the 5mm hex key. And you'll just tighten it by accessing that bolt that's behind the hoods. So I try to line the levers up so that the top of the levers line up with the top of the bars, and that the bottom of the lever lines up with the bottom of the bars, so that it sort of lines up with the bottom of the drops. So I'm going to move this up a little bit, and ideally we would get like a nice flat surface here on the top. I think that looks pretty good, and then the bottom also lines up with the levers. Okay, I'm going to tighten up this bolt and replace the hoods for now. And we'll do the same thing on the other side with the left lever. So we'll slide that onto the bar and get it so that it's in the same place as the other lever is. Tighten that bolt, replace the hood, and I think that actually looks pretty good. If you press the levers in, you can see that they line up with the bars on both sides. Okay, we'll leave that there for now. And next we're going to install the brake set. I have these SRAM Rival brakes, which are one level up from SRAM Apex, but I got them because they were basically the same price. So here we have the front caliper and the rear caliper. So we'll start by putting the brake bolt through the opening in the fork, and then we'll put the recess nut through the opening on the other side, and we will tighten that using our hex key. And just hand tight for now, since we're going to adjust it later on once our wheels are inside. So just to put it in place, the rear brake is going to go in right here, and then we'll insert the recess nut on this side. There. So now our brakes are in place. Okay, at this point we pretty much have all our components where we want them to be. So our full group set is in. We have our levers, shifter, the brake set, crank set, rear derailleur. Again, since it's one by, we don't have a front derailleur. So now, before we put cables and all that stuff in, we're going to set up the wheels, including the cassette and tires. So that's next.